Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Calvin. I'm talking fast. There's a lot of stuff we got to get done. We the Species. I'm doing this in conjunction, as I've done last year, with the Garden State Film Festival, interviewing actors, actresses, screenwriters, directors, composers, in conjunction with the Garden State Film Festival, the premier indie film festival. And I love this stuff. And I'm honored and thrilled to be with Stefano Da Fre. I got to get that name right, and I did, and I did. The resume you have is kind of mind-boggling. AFI award winner. You've done stuff that premiered and showed it at Cannes. You've got a filmmaking grant by the Russo Brothers Italian American Film Forum. I mean, it just goes on and on. You've done a ton of stuff with Court TV a couple times a week, as you were telling me before we went on air, and also Script News. I kind of like the company Script News for lots of reasons. But your whole and now we're here to talk about A Slice of Family Business, which is your new film. I love the whole premise of it, and I wonder about Anthony and I wonder about Anna. So
I wonder about Anthony and I wonder about Anna too. I wonder about all of them.
So why don't you do a little intro, and then we're going to jump in to this film and you.
Calvin, so good to be with you. For your audiences, it is Stefano Da Fre, and I am a filmmaker based out in Mammoth Junction and then also in New York City, back and forth in New Jersey. So it's close to the heart to have a film that is programmed at the Garden State Film Festival. I love the Garden State Film Festival. I love the programming and basically meeting the filmmakers and the producers and all the people that are involved. They do such a good job. Love the idea of A Slice of the Family Business because I love the idea of parents and kids, and one person's dream is not another person's dream. I built this. It means the world to me. You grew up in it, in a cheese making family, just for your audiences that they know. Anthony Mangello and Anna Rose Mangello, they are father and daughter that work at Formaggio. Formaggio is a multi-million-dollar cheese manufacturing company that you can find their products in Whole Foods and Sam's Club, Walmart, everywhere. And Anthony starts this company and reaches a point where maybe he wants to sell it and let it go. He's getting offers, tending offers. And now his daughter says, "Dad, you can't sell this. It's been part of my life forever. I've only known this business my whole life." He's like, "Anna, well, how are you going to run this? You don't have any of the skills that I had when I started." And what you see is a very tender, very loving, a very realistic, and a very comedic interaction throughout, the entire film of Anna Rose going through the hoops, trying to prove to her father that she, in fact, could be CEO of Formaggio LLC.
It really is an age-old story with now in modern, when you think about it. So what was there anything in particular that kind of inspired you to kind of put this together?
Yeah, I was raised, it's a great question, Calvin. I was raised by my grandparents. I lived with them from the age of 15 years old. I was telling you in the green room before, my grandfather made grappa in the basement. And I haven't really told many people this, but he would brush his teeth after he was basically 90 years old and fed up with toothpaste. He would brush his teeth with grappa. He would dip the toothbrush in to a grappa bottle, homemade grappa bottle, and he's like, se la grappa non lo fa, non c'è nient'altro che lo fa. So he was, in a lot of ways, doing this film, this TV pilot, was a love letter, a callback to my grandparents, Antonio Da Fre and Maria Da Fre, that that I lived with till I was 24 years old. And I loved being in that old world Veneto style of them who went through the war. And that's what made me connected to the material. I feel like I revisit them even though they've passed in a spiritual level. And the vehicle for that was Anthony and Anna, because I could really understand for them,
Yeah.
The trauma and the emotional response of therapy, that you sometimes want to do the best for your kids, and maybe better that they're not, hard to say, maybe they're not capable. And so for the film to work, you have to really know that Anna really, you're constantly, for the viewers that watch A Slice of the Family Business at the Garden State Film Festival, and it'll be available on other streamers eventually. But when you see A Slice of the Family Business, it's not set up in such a way that she's going to get the job or not get the job. You're always going back and forth to seeing that this process is very long and hard for her. And that's what I love. I love that dynamic aspect, and the fact that if you're not Italian, they yell at each other a lot, and they yell a lot, and they're very outgoing, very
Passionate.
Yeah, very passionate. Very, they're flamboyant. They wear their heart on their sleeves, and that I can relate to very much. When I have subject matters and talent that is like that may seem over the top for other people or other directors, does not bother me at all. I sleep like a baby, and I can handle them like a baby. It doesn't bother me. It feels I slot right back in to basically being with my family.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I love the world of independent filmmaking, and because I'm a self-published author, I'm an indie author, and I love everything about it. I also know one of the inherent difficulties and mountains to climb is financing. So how do you finance the project? You don't have to tell me anything secret, but tough.
That's a great question. I was very lucky on this project. I submitted the script. I wrote the script, and I submitted it to the National Italian American Foundation. NIAF is they're headquartered in Washington, D.C., and they help all sorts of different, not just artists, but also whether the people are into civics, or they're into engineering, or they're into science. They're interested in Italian Americans and what they're doing, and maybe also part of their mission statement, I would say, not maybe, but I'm seeing it more now, that their mission statement is to carry on the legacy of what the impact that Italy has had into America. And they felt strongly that this TV pilot was a candidate to be funded a certain amount. And I was very grateful by Aurelio De Laurentiis and his company. Aurelio De Laurentiis was the head financier for this, and helped to get it financed based on, well, he is the owner for the Napoli soccer club in Serie A, and his uncle was Dino De Laurentiis.
Wow.
The famous Dino De Laurentiis.
Sure.
And who financed a lot of Fellini's movies, and financed, I mean, the list goes on of European films in the 70s and 80s that Dino De Laurentiis played a part of.
Did he do Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah, I think he did. You're talking about the version, the Zaffarelli version, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, I believe he did. So that family had a huge legacy. It was a big reason. That's why I was very nervous, and spent a lot of time to try to get them to look at the script. And at the time, I hadn't shot not a stitch of footage, but they believed in it. They helped finance it. And then other financing I found from other private investors that came together. And then through, as we know, in independent cinema, some patchwork here, patchwork there, some patchwork over there. You're putting it all together. that's how you got a TV pilot. And I
Okay.
call it a TV pilot because I think, for me, the story continues because we leave it as a cliffhanger and we want people to watch it. And ideally, I had written it as a three-parter, like a limited series. It works great as a film, and I think that that's great. But I would not show all the footage that's at the end of the film, and I would save that for the second episode, and I would sort of, turn it into a three-parter or a four-parter.
Okay. Okay. Because whatever I'm digesting, I keep seeing little vignettes of TV pilot kind
Yeah,
of. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. It is a continuing saga, and there's so much to learn from the dynamics. Talk about the process of being an Italian American and how much like on-screen behavior, Italian American behavior, uh, is it represented authentically in the film?
Do they yell as much as what's in the movie? Yeah.
Okay.
Do they talk like that? Yeah. Did I have to prompt that? No. Um, I just had to have the cameras rolling and be a fly on the wall and ask the right questions. You ask the right questions, you'll get the right answers. And I like that. I love seeing some of those Italianisms and Italian American isms in it. I know that it adds authenticity to it. And I think for me, you know, I I I don't know that, you know, a Japanese chef can't be a great Italian chef for Italian restaurants. So I'm never been a identity politics kind of guy who thinks that you have to be from that culture to film that culture. The only thing that I would say is being Italian and being an artist, um, it helps. It just you you just can relax into yourself and pull from things that you've lived in that experience. But I also think that if other people wanted to make a pilot, I would encourage your listeners who are filmmakers and young filmmakers, and whether they're in Baltimore or New Jersey or New York or Florida, you could be Jewish, you could be black, you could be from somewhere else. And in fact, I would also give you another hot take. I think that in the era of filmmaking and art that I'm in, it's almost wrong to stick only to your culture. It's not why I became an artist, and certainly it was not to be telling only my stories. All these stories are different than me, even though they have overlaps, but also so that you grow. Your humanity is your link to making other films. And I think that, for your listeners who are young filmmakers, you should, if you're, like Catherine Bigelow, who's an amazing female film director and wrote in the 90s Point Break, which was an amazing film about two guys, really basically about Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves, an action film that really was, like, I think in terms of guys, like, we watch that film. Me and my buddies from college will watch that film every year, and because it's so, in a sense, realistic to that kind of bromance. Um, American Psycho is very male heavy in terms of theme, but Mary Harron, who's a Canadian director, is a female who directed it, and actually was written by a gay man, Brett Ellison, who is a prolific writer. So I think you're better off being on that team, my team, which is, you do the stuff that is of your background. Great. Now write a film about three women who meet and end up in the same location, but they don't know each other. Try to get outside of yourself so that you're stretching as an artist. If you're comfortable and you already know what you're doing, you're definitely not pushing yourself enough. You are 100% not pushing yourself, and you're not gonna fucking grow. That's all I'll say about that.
Okay. Okay. So, a slice of family business. I'm just pretending I'm seeing it for the first time. It suggests humor and it suggests family tension.
Yeah.
What were you shooting for in the pilot?
I want both the tension and the family humor in it. And what I want is I want to show that I want to show actually the most important thing is when you have a child, you don't want to recognize your child's flaws. And you don't want to recognize that your child may be incapable of doing what you've done. Even though in their mind, they believe they've got what it takes. There's a scene in it where Anna Rose, who's the daughter, says, "How do you know, Dad? How do you know?" He goes, "Anna, you didn't sweep the floors like I did. You don't know how to hook up these machines, what I had to do to perfect them. I started with answering phones, to working my way to cleaning up the toilets, to taking out the trash, to going in to P&L, marketing, failing out of products, meeting buyers, and I had to understand every aspect of the business. There is a Greek tragedy to the way that we are with our children because they are from us, a reflection of us, a mirror of us. And there's also the logical part of our brain that says, wait, it's not the best thing for them to give them everything. And they're not going to be able to do what I did. They're their own person on their own path. And I think what a slice of family business does authentically in the tension is that it gives Anna a shot to prove herself. And she gets very, very, very close. And she does it in her own way, which is going to be different than how Anthony would have wanted to do it. So that if she succeeds, if she's able to take over essentially the business, it's not going to be because of her following exactly the road of her dad. She's going to have to find her own path, just like her father found her own path. That's the only way the child can make their own mark on a business and be held down and share in the legacy. And that's what I love. I love that. I love the dynamics, the complexity of the dynamics. That stuff turns me on.
Um, are there elements of gender in this
Yeah.
stereotypical gender stuff?
Sure. I think that a father-daughter, you can't do this. The sort of the protectionism that comes from any Italian dad.
Sure.
This is, like I want you to have a family. What about your kids? How are you gonna, do this? She's a mother, so that comes into play in the show quite a bit. And so that's exactly goes back to the first point, which is, Anna has to do it in her own way because she doesn't have the freedom to be this like entrepreneur who has no children. And I think Anthony recognizes, if you end up doing this job and you end up wanting to take over, your family's going to suffer. It's not if, it's that they 100% will suffer. Do you understand that? Do you understand the sacrifice that you're making by becoming CEO of this company?
By the way, powerful stuff here. There's so many, it really is powerful stuff. It's funny. I'm kind of extrapolating here. This stuff is so contemporary and so needed
Right.
because we're entering strange waters these days, and so much things that we never would have thought of are going to come to play. So, were there moments during the filming when the actors' personalities might have brought like unexpected humor and stuff to you're smiling?
No, I think dealing with them is always funny because you're kind of a fly on the wall watching this family kind of, you know, work through things that they should be in therapy for. Like you're seeing their drama and how they relate to each other, and it's like, wow, this is happening right in front of my eyes, and it's you're seeing all the debates that are happening, and you can envision the conversations that this little girl had when she was 15 and 16 and 20 and trying to get her father's attention and wants her father to be proud of her. You're sort of seeing all of that in a slice of the family business. You're seeing all of those aspects that are, well, any of us who have parents and want to get our parents' approval, can relate to. So you're almost like, wow, am I too close to this? But then I just keep it rolling. The comedy part of it is that the reason why it works as comedy is because at the end of the day, they love each other and it's warm. It's not funny if they're cold and they're mean, but it's incredibly funny when they love each other and are loving and are sweet and are kind and are, through all their flaws, they're looking out, doing their best to look out for each other. And that's really what counts.
I'm taking notes. See me
Yeah.
right. I'm one of the few interviewers in America who takes notes while he's interviewing. I have my reasons. I'm taking notes. Okay. So how do you balance you got cultural traditions here.
Yeah.
How do you balance that with like avoiding those stereotypes?
The tropes, the cliches.
Yeah.
Um,
Hard.
you flesh out more of what each individual person, that you treat them like a person, and what their wants are. Because wants, if you look at them, if the more you look at them as a caricature, so that you can start off looking at them as a caricature, that's fine. And so you have that cliche stuff. But if the show, as the film progresses, you start to see it becomes more and more and more and more and more specific. And so when you become more and more and more and more specific on that person, they become more and more and more human. And so they become more and more of an individual, and that makes them universal, but also particular, because they sort of get out of their culture and they're just about a person who is has these desires and needs these things to be met. And then culture is like a kind of a peripheral thing. If you don't show that, what they cry about, what they laugh about, what they need, very hard to humanize them, and then you're just with a cliche. That's why reality. That's why this isn't. I would never consider this reality TV. I would consider it, it's non-scripted, but it's not reality per se, because I don't. I mean, it's what real reality is. I would say it's real reality, but it's not the reality shows that you would see like Housewives of Salt Lake City or Housewives of Beverly Hills, because all of that stuff is they're only cliches, and they don't ever leave the den. They're always stuck in their. You don't see really the things that how they got there. They're not self-reflective. And I like TV shows where characters can think about themselves, and that aspect of being self-reflective humanizes and avoids playing cliches.
I could listen to you for hours.
Thank you.
Just a little compliment there. I'm thoroughly enjoying this, truly. So, any particular production challenges that you faced?
Well, we had to film in Hurleyville, New York, which was really.
Is that a real place?
Yeah.
I meant to ask you about that. It's a real place.
Yeah, it's a real place. So Hurleyville, New York is tough because all my guys, all our girls, all the people, the production people that I work with, they yeah, they live in New Jersey or they live in the city in New York, in Manhattan. So, or Manhattan or Brooklyn. So it's about a 2.5 hour drive.
That's
And getting,
Catskills, right?
yeah,
Is that
Catskills, and you got it. It's like near Monticello, and so you gotta drive all that equipment. You're responsible for all those people. You
oof,
gotta have multiple cars. It's like
oof.
7, 8, maybe 9 production cars. It's a lot of production cars up there, and it's a lot of work. And I would say that's the hardest part. Hardest part is shooting on location in the factory. Um, so I had shot in Hurleyville twice. I had one very, very big day, one very long, expensive day of production, where everybody, all hands were on deck. Then I shot a pickup shot with Anthony around December. And then I shot one day in the city in New York, in Manhattan with Anna and a very small skeleton crew. That was easy. And then I shot a medium-sized day where Anna lives at her home in her living room. And all of that was necessary. So I shot 4 production days on this TV pilot. And that I was, as a director, as an experienced director, I thought for sure I could do this all in one full day, a 16-hour day. But then I thought, oh well, let me get some pickup, but it ended up being 4 days.
Okay. Okay. Um, by the way, there's a great diner up there in Monticello, the Monticello Diner. I don't know if it's still there.
It's still there. I ate there. I ate there when I was on production.
Great, great omelets.
Amazing. Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
God. And it's classic. The awnings are classic. The
Oh, yeah.
the glass and the sort of the the fixtures, the sort of the design of it is beautiful.
Back to the Future when you go there.
Oh my God. You're back 50 years ago.
Correct. Correct. Yep, yep, yep.
I love me a diner, Calvin. I love a diner. I love a diner. I love being in a diner. I love a diner. I love
Same here.
classic diners, and I also, that's what's great about traveling across America when you do long trips. You just sort of sometimes you can. I even look at some like classic diners that are reviewed. You got to stop at. I love a diner.
Same here. Same here. Every Sunday night we alternate. Ethnic, there's 3, Chinese, Italian diner. We kind of alternate. That's our Sunday tradition. I think
That's
it's a Jersey
that's
born thing. I don't know.
yeah.
Uh,
I think New Jersey might have the most diners in America
by
per square.
far. No, no, by far.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. By far. And it's nice.
I
And
mean, listen, someone else pumps your gas. You have the best diners in America. You know what I mean? Hey,
that's right.
what else do you want from us?
That's right.
Yeah.
Uh, truly, truly. Hey, listen, we
You
don't
got
have
Meryl
time.
Streep. You got Bon Jovi. Hey,
You said Meryl Streep,
Meryl
right?
Streep is from, yeah. She's from Jersey. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. From
Bedminster.
Jersey.
By the
She,
way, I saw a picture with you and her.
I was very lucky to meet Meryl at a dinner. I got to meet Meryl Streep at a dinner because I did a movie with her daughter, Mamie, uh, Maybe Gummer, and I did a movie with her. And so among all the guests and how sort of protected and shielded she is with her sort of her entourage and her team and bodyguards, when I talked to her about her daughter and what it was like working with her daughter, she lit up, like just like lit up like a mother, like any mother would. And then you know and then we took a photograph, and that was great. We got to talk for 15 minutes and talked about her daughter, and she was glowing. And then I recently worked on I think I can say this. I hope I don't get in trouble. I think I can say this. I'm going to be
I don't do
say
any
that I'm
editing, so be
no, it's
careful.
fine. No, keep it in. Keep it in. I'm gonna be in I'm working on The Devil Wears Prada 2. Uh
Wow.
yeah. So it's 20th Century, that's owned by Disney, and so it's a Disney product. So that's great. And I'll be working on, that's all I'll say about that. But I'm working on Devil Wears Prada 2.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow. That's funny. I once spoke to Meryl Streep myself, and she was filming One True Thing in Maplewood. And
Wow.
long story, I was on set. I was just watching them make snow and stuff, and all of a sudden she's standing next to me, and I couldn't believe she's next to me. So was William Hurt and Renee Zellweger. So I turned. I'm a friendly guy. I turned to say, I started talking to her a little bit, and one of the production assistants thought I was part of that entourage, and came over to me and said to me, we got to place you now. So I said, all right. And he takes me right onto the set and says to me, you know everything you have to say and do? I said, well, it's been a long day. Could you just go over it, everything again? Bing. I'm a 6'5", by the way. You can't tell. So I was the biggest thing in that scene, in that movie. She was nominated for the Academy Award for that.
Wow.
And I always say I helped, you know, uh, whatever. It's one of my great
Do you
achievements.
remember what you had to say?
No, I had to sing Silent Night, which I knew from Simon and Garfunkel. They sing that song, 7 a.m. news. I knew Silent Night, of course. And so I had to sing Silent Night in the town square there, which was great. It was one of the great experiences of my life to have been in the movie. And it went to my head because once I was in that, I auditioned for Water Worlds. Spielberg and Tom Cruise, they filmed it in Newark. I'm a
Wow.
Newark boy. So they actually called me twice to maybe they wanted a tall guy, I don't know. And I actually turned them down. Big mistake. Big, big mistake. Anyway, moving on. Oh, by the way, a cute question I like to ask before we go back. Uh, excluding family or friends, somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with.
Without thinking about it too much, Jean-Luc Godard. Jean-Luc Godard. I'd love to have a day with the filmmaker. I grew up watching French New Wave movies. Is the only filmmaker when I was going to film school that I wrote a letter to his office in Paris. I never got a response back, but I used to write to his office. I thought that was always old school of me, and I love Breathless. I love Contempt. The original title is Le Mépris. I love Pierrot Le Fou. Uh, I love his comeback movies. The one with Isabelle Huppert in the 80s. I love
I know her.
yeah, I love Godard. He revolutionized, he made films feel fresh and fun. And
You a big Kubrick fan?
I do like Kubrick. I was thought he was I was very misunderstood. I thought when I was growing up and I was going even to film school, I thought that he was like a quiet British guy. In fact, he's from New York and he was extremely gregarious. So I had no actually I really I'm interested in people's characters. I had the total wrong impression of Kubrick whatsoever, and I realized what a gregarious guy he was. And I think that Kubrick, a lot of actors, Kubrick falls into this category of him and David Fincher that are perfectionists and need to do lots of takes. And I think, if actors don't want to be in a movie that the director wants to be perfect, you can fucking move right along. Macy's is hiring because, you know, that's the point. You spend all that money, we get all those lights, all the gear, we fly in all the camera people, all the tech. And, the difference between 20 takes and 40 takes, you don't want to do that extra 20. That's fine. You go work, go work on another job. I just, that's why they're great. Now, in compassion to the actors, you have to tell them why. They have to. I think Kubrick, unlike Fincher, who was a great uh, um, communicator. I don't think of that era. Even Antonioni, those guys, they didn't communicate to their actors. They sort of saw them. If they were in a bad mood and were dealing with so many things, they probably treated them like furniture or set pieces, and that really damages the performance that you can get from an actor, which is they the safer they feel, the more they'll reveal. So you have to know that as a director when you're taking people in, and that you're coming along that journey together. Um, so it's not about 40 or 60 takes. It's really that they believe that it's worthwhile, that what you're trying to do, and that we're all in it to make this as perfect piece of art as it can be.
Mhm. It's funny. Yeah, I read an article about Sinatra, and he would not do more than one take. So if you're hiring him, just know he ain't doing more than one take. This is it. And I got a kick out of that.
Yeah.
I really got a kick out of that. Frank is Frank.
Well,
Uh,
I mean, there's other actors that were like that too, right?
I bet.
George C. Scott was like that. Robert Duvall didn't love doing a lot of takes. God rest his soul. Amazing, amazing director. Neighborhood Playhouse alumni, is a theater school that I went to
Wow.
in Manhattan. We
Wow.
both went to the Neighborhood Playhouse. Yeah, it's so like there are people who idolized Antonioni. Jack Nicholson said that The Passenger was the best film that he ever did and wanted to be remembered for. And other people who hated working with Antonioni. There are people who hate, Robert Downey Jr. Hated working on Zodiac with David Fincher, and Jake Gyllenhaal, I think, has the same thing to say. And other people like the Mara sisters, Rooney Mara and Kate Mara, and Brad Pitt love David Fincher, and Brad Pitt's in so many Fincher films. I mean, everything from Fight Club to Seven to The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. You end up working with actors you trust and like, and that in the battlefield they're tested and true. So, just because people that you see are talented do or don't like a director, it's neither here nor there. It's so specific to their unique relationship and how it was communicated to them. No bearing on whether the actor's talented or whether the director makes great films.
Hmm.
None whatsoever.
Okay. This great stuff. Winding down because we have a time element. So your work has premiered at festivals like Cannes and other international things. How does showing a film, like on the world stage, change your perspective as a filmmaker?
International audiences will laugh at different
Is that
uh,
right?
segments of the film.
Is that
They'll
right?
pick up on yeah. So if you screen a film in France, you screen a film in Scotland, in the UK, they'll laugh at different moments. They'll be for sure some common elements, but they'll pick up on humor in different ways of things that make them funny. That's the first thing. So they actually absorb the movie differently, which I love, because I'm seeing it in a way. It's out into the world. It's out into the ether. There's, I can't even believe that. That's like wild to me. The other thing is, I find international audiences can be more philosophical than being entertained. The French are philosophical. The Germans, you go to Berlinale, I mean, they will talk about movies and why this happened and what the meaning of that was. In the US, our vocabulary, and I also think it's because of what's going on in the world and the way we are in the world. I think we're not independent cinema right now in the States is not at a place where we're watching Buffalo 66 by Vincent Gallo. We're not in the early 2000s. We're not seeing Gus Van Sant's My Own Private Idaho. We're not seeing Good Will Hunting. We are a culture now that our brains need to shut off with the war, whether it's the conflict in Gaza or Iran or Venezuela or whatever. And I am not a politico. I care about art, and I care about I want everybody under the tent. I want Republicans and Democrats to like my films. So that's straight off the bat. If people want to criticize me for that, I couldn't give a shit. I like human beings, and I think there are good human beings that deserve cinema. I just think that whether you're on the Democratic side or the Republican side or in the independent side, we've been used up. We feel in our country a lot unsafe. And so we're looking to art not to make us think, just in this era, to escape. We're looking for escapism. And I would say that we are, and this is something for your audiences to think about, we consume the most amount of true crime in the entire world. So there is no other culture in the history of cinema that has consumed the most amount of true crime and documentaries about cults. So, and you'll see this in Netflix, right? Cults, true crime. We are fascinated by it. And I think that there is an aspect of our own psyche, our Americanism psyche, that is working through itself through these avenues, these formats. And like all things, they will change. We will change. Emotions come, they go. Trends come and they go. And there will be something else that will come along in 4 to 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 years. But this is the zeitgeist right now. And it's an interesting thing to understand first before we talk badly about it and get rid of it. I think it's an interesting observation. I have no moral opinion about it whatsoever.
Okay. You know what? I got about 15 more questions. We're going to stop. We're going to stop because we could go on and on and on, and maybe we will at some point. Because I sit in this chair 12 hours a day, and I get very lonely, and I love to talk. So anytime you want to come back and kind of chat, let's do that.
A pleasure.
This has been what a in the words of Clint Eastwood, Dirty Harry, you made my day. Kind of a paraphrase. So I'm going to stop recording. Thank you. I wish you all kinds of. I have this kinship now to a slice of family business, and so I'm going to be watching and kind of cheering it on and hoping to see more of it. Thank you so much, Stefano. Thank you.
Thank you, Calvin. Thank you for having me on your show, and I look forward to many future conversations with you too.
Love it, love it. Don't leave. We're going to do a 30-second wrap. I love that term, wrap.